This ball is crushed.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Son of a Pitch. Yes, I said pitch, not the other word mom, if you're watching. My name is Gabe Bradham, and yeah, the only baseball experience I have is playing it in high school, but that's gotta count for something, right? This show's gonna be like Inside Baseball, except without the experienced commentators and the advanced analytics. But I got notes, so that's something. All right, we're talking about the news of this week. Guys, it's a new season for baseball, and with a new season comes new rules. First off, there's no shift. I don't have enough time to explain to you what a shift is, but just know that batting averages are up by 8 points, and we're seeing a lot more single runs. Yay! Baseball's more interesting when people hit the ball. What do we say? There's a new rule called the pitch clock, and I think it's only fair that if these pitchers are held to 15 seconds to pitch a ball, then I can explain a rule to you within 15 seconds. Let's put a clock at the bottom in 3, 2. If there's no one on base, pitchers have 15 seconds to pitch a ball, but if there are people on base, they only have 20 seconds. The batter has 7 or 12 seconds, depending on if people are on base, to be in the box. If they don't do it, there's a ball for the pitcher and a strike for the hitter. They're allowed 2 disengagements per appearance at bat, and games are now 40 minutes shorter because of the pitch clock rule. Whew, that wasn't that bad. I feel like I could be a major league pitcher. Anyways, finally, there's bigger bases. You know what they say, size isn't everything, but in this case, it is. The bases are increasing from 15 to 18 inches, and, you know, some people have theorized that this is to prevent more runs. We haven't seen an increase of that in the minor leagues. What we have seen is an increase in people being safe from injuries, and player safety matters more than anything in baseball. Now that we got the news out of the way, let's go to that handsome devil Gabe as he gives us his predictions for each team in the MLB. Alright everybody, normally this is the part in the show where I'd give you the standings for all the MLB teams so far this season, but considering this is the first week and we've only got about 2 to 3 games per team, that's not really an honest reflection of how they're doing. So instead I'm going to give you my expectations for each team this season. We've got all 30 teams broken down into 6 categories, 5 teams each. Let's see what we got. So first off, we got the World Series contenders. This is where I have the New York Yankees, San Diego Padres, New York Mets, Houston Astros, and Atlanta Braves. Now listen, the New York Yankees, they're an extremely amazing team. Obviously, Aaron Judge is an absolute beast. My only issue with this team so far is the issues to the pitching staff. I'm not quite sure where that leads this team. Then you've got the San Diego Padres. They're the definition, as close as you can get, as a baseball super team. Obviously, you got Tatis, you got Juan Soto, Manny Machado. They have everything you need for a good team. I'm a little bit nervous that, you know, the sense that these are all players brought in on big money contracts, it's kind of that mercenary type thing where there's not much of a team built, so I kind of worry about attitudes inside the team, but that's its own separate conversation. New York Mets. This is the other big money team. You've got Pete Alonso at plate, obviously, the polar bear. He's an absolute stud. I think he's just great at crushing balls. We've seen him in the home run derby just be an absolute unit. Justin Verlander, starting pitcher. Yes, he's getting older, but, I mean, as we saw from Verlander last season when he won the World Series with the Houston Astros, he's kind of like a fine wine. He gets better with age. There are, of course, some injuries, you know, that are plaguing the team, but it remains to be seen what's going to happen. That's the kind of same thing with the Yankees are going through. We see a lot of injuries to the pitching staff, and it's the one thing that could really lead to their downfall. Houston Astros. I hate the Houston Astros just as much as everyone else does. I think that cheating scandal, you know, I think they should have been stripped of their title. Its own separate conversation. But on paper, this is an amazing team. Obviously, you got Jeremy Pena, you got Jose Altuve, Jordan Alvarez, and then I like Kyle Tucker. I think he's wildly underrated as a player. Atlanta Braves, yes, this isn't the Atlanta Braves from 2 years ago. We can all say it. It's true. They still are jam-packed with weapons. Obviously, you've got Acuna. He's got a cannon. He's an absolute beast. Spencer Strider, I think he's got to be in the conversation for a possible Cy Young contender. They're an amazing team, and you can never count out Atlanta. And also, let's just give credit where credit's due. Truist Park is one of the most gorgeous places to play baseball and watch baseball in this country. Next category we got is playoff locks. These are the teams that I'm completely certain will make the postseason. I'm just a little bit trepidatious about their chances to go far in it. Here, this is where I have the Toronto Blue Jays, St. Louis Cardinals, Philadelphia Phillies, Seattle Mariners, and the Cleveland Guardians. Toronto Blue Jays. Okay, you've got Vladimir Guerrero Jr. He's an absolute beast. When it comes to the St. Louis Cardinals, Losing Albert Pujols, I think, is going to do some stuff to the locker room morale. He's an absolute leader. He's a captain. People love him. You've got Paul Goldschmidt. He can crack it harder than just about anyone else can. Nolan Arenado, still wonderful. Philadelphia Phillies, they made it to the World Series last year. It was quite a run. I think this year's going to be a little interesting for the Phillies. Even though on paper, I'm going to say it, they're a better team than they were last season. Bryce Harper is amazing. Trey Turner, picked him up from the Dodgers. I think that was wonderful. JT Realmuto, I think he's one of the best catchers in the league. Seattle Mariners, like I said, on paper, a better season than last year. Colton Wong, picking him up from Milwaukee, I thought back home he was, completely underappreciated, and I'm so excited to see him thrive in Seattle. And then obviously, Julio Rodriguez, Rookie of the Year last year, genuine contender for MVP this year. He is the future of baseball, and I'm so excited to watch him just keep doing well in Seattle. Then we've got the Cleveland Guardians. Obviously, Jose Ramirez. I think he's going to win the AL MVP this year. MLB has him ranked as the 8th best player in the league, and I think that's way, I don't think that gives him enough credit. I think he's an absolute stud. Obviously, Andrew Jimenez, he's great. I think the Guardians, I think they're going to be hampered by Ramirez's. He had surgery in the preseason, and I do wonder how that's going to affect his play. But if things go his way, yes, I think he's the AL MVP, and I think that the Guardians have a real solid chance of making a push this year. Now we've got the fighting for the postseason teams. These are teams that are going to be stellar in the regular season. They're going to win 60 games. They very well, bold take, I think every team on paper has a chance to win over 85 and a half games. These are the teams that, they don't necessarily have everything it takes to win a World Series. So if they do win one, it's going to take some sheer luck and some genius moves at the trade deadline. But I think these teams are wildly underrated and have some real skills. First off, I'm going to go with my hometown Milwaukee Brewers. First off, simple fact, you have the 1-2 punch of Corbin Burns and Brandon Woodruff. When you've got those two as your 1-2 punch in pitching, you can do all things. Yes, I'm a little bit trepidatious that maybe we're going to trade away Corbin Burns, begin the rebuild, and I wouldn't love to see that happen, but I would understand if it did. But then we made a stellar preseason pickup. William Contreras, absolute beast. I'm so excited to see him on the team. Willie Adames was great last season. Rowdy Tellez is an amazing power hitter. He knocked over 30 homers, so I think that's going to be really interesting to see what he does this season. Obviously, we got Christian Yelich, and he's, I think, my biggest question mark with this team this year. When Christian Yelich wants to play competent baseball, he's one of the best. He's 31 years old, though, and I'm starting to wonder, okay, last year was his first year of getting, real big money. He needs to prove that he's worth it. I love the pickup of Jesse Winker. I think Jesse Winker has been really well known around the league as an attitude guy. He's really good at encouraging his teammates. And I think we might see his presence have a real positive effect on Yelly. Los Angeles Angels. On paper, Los Angeles Angels should be much better than they are. They have the combination of Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout. And if you watch the World Baseball Classic this year, Ohtani and Trout decided to reenact 1942 by having Japan and USA go to absolute war, and it was amazing. But I'm not going to drink that World Baseball Classic Kool-Aid. Yes, I think Mike Trout is a beast. Yes, I think Shohei Ohtani is a beast, but they are consistently let down by the players around them. I think the Angels do not have what it takes to win a World Series, and I think they're going to be scraping to get into the playoffs. And I think it's maybe the last season of Ohtani in Los Angeles, and I'm very excited to see where he goes. Then now we've got the Tampa Bay Rays, a team that has made the playoffs for the last 4 years, so they'd be fighting for a 5th one this year. The injury to Glass now, not great. That's really going to throw some things off. But I do love Brandon Lowe as a player, and I don't know. It feels weird every year to try and place the Rays where they're going to go. Because you don't want to be the idiot who says they're not going to make it, but something feels more off than usual this year. Minnesota Twins, obviously the whole Carlos Correa drama, maybe going to San Francisco, then Queens, and now Minnesota. I don't know really what's going to happen with this team. I love the Joey Gallo pickup. I think that's wonderful. I think Christian Vazquez is an amazing player. So on paper, the Twins look great. Like I said, I'm not quite sure what's going to happen here. Finally, in this, we've got the Los Angeles Dodgers. These are not the Dodgers, from 2020. They aren't. And that's okay. I'm just not sure what this team is going to do, how they're going to perform as a unit. Freddie Freeman, I loved him in Atlanta. I mean, I hate the Atlanta Braves, but I love Freddie Freeman as a player. Will Smith, Mookie Betts, absolutely wonderful player. Clayton Kershaw on the field, he knows what he's doing. Next, we have the teams that I would say are literally mid, and the teams that have one stellar player, but that one stellar player is not enough to elevate them. In a couple of these cases, there's two really good players, and those are the teams that I think have the higher chance of making it to the postseason. First off, we've got the Texas Rangers, San Francisco Giants, Chicago White Sox, Baltimore Orioles, and the Boston Red Sox. All right, the Texas Rangers, they've got Jacob deGrom, one of the best pitchers in the league, asterisk, when he can stay healthy. That is his biggest issue, and I'm not sure that he's going to be able to stay healthy all season and be productive. I like Trevor Siemian. I think he's a wonderful player. I think in these last 3 games, the Rangers have almost absolutely drubbed the Phillies, so it'll be interesting to see what they do, but I don't know, guys. I don't think the Rangers are making the postseason. San Francisco Giants, I love Jock Peterson. Like I said, he's a stylish, show-off player that would have thrived in the 80s. I love the big pearls. I think he's a great hitter, but I don't think he's enough to elevate the Giants to real postseason contenders. Chicago White Sox, listen, Chicago, Tim Anderson is not enough to win you a title. The Chicago White Sox right now are built like glass cannons. And by that, I mean that, yeah, they have some real potential, but no depth. If anyone gets injured, they're absolutely screwed. And so I think that this fragile way of building a team, I don't think it's conducive to winning a championship, personally. Baltimore Orioles, this is a team to be excited about. They're going to need, I think, 2 more years before they're thriving. And obviously, they play in one of the most difficult divisions in baseball. But Adley Rutschman, called him up middle of the year last year, stellar player. He's an absolute beast. I think he's one of the futures of baseball. Gunnar Henderson, I'm really excited to see him play. I think he very well has a case of being Rookie of the Year. And then the Baltimore Red Sox. We all love Rafael Devers. We do, but like I said, not enough to win you a title. Next, we have the rebuild incoming teams. Not all of these teams have a genuine rebuild incoming because I think some of their front offices aren't competent enough to actually start doing a rebuild. But these are teams that I don't think are going to be good for a while. I got the Miami Marlins here, the Chicago Cubs, Arizona Diamondbacks, and this is the one that goes contrary to everything I just said, and I'll talk about that in 1 second. The Detroit Tigers, and unfortunately for my friend Mark Palmerain, the Pittsburgh Pirates. Now listen, the Miami Marlins. The jerseys, they debuted last year, simple, clean. But if all we've got are your jerseys to talk about positively, you guys need to do better. Rebuild. It's okay. All baseball teams have to do it. This is your year. The Chicago Cubs. I really enjoy the veteran players they've brought in to try and, help some of these rookies. I don't know. I don't believe in the Cubs, and that's removing my bias as a Milwaukee guy, obviously. I just don't see the Cubs doing it this year. Arizona Diamondbacks, like I said, that is the one that goes contrary to everything I just said. The Arizona Diamondbacks are the future of baseball. They have a stellar built team that just needs time and experience. So, barring any significant injuries from these core players on this team, give the Diamondbacks 1 to 3 years. They're going to be fighting hard for the postseason. I just think that, unproven, untested, but they've got talent. They just need some time to develop skill. Also, Arizona is one of the absolute best states to play baseball in. You don't have to contend with the cold weather issues, stuff like that. And so I think these Diamondback players, they don't have a rebuild incoming. They have championships incoming. The Detroit Tigers. Javier Baez sucks. You went all in on him to be the future of your team, and that was one of the worst mistakes you've ever made. He's bad. He's just real bad. Trade him away to a team who wants a veteran leader, maybe, and try and get some draft capital. I don't know what to tell you to do here, but the Tigers are just bad. Pittsburgh Pirates. I don't know, man. I love O'Neal Cruz. I think O'Neal Cruz is an absolute stud. I think Mitch Keller is one of the best pitchers in the league that nobody gives enough credit to. He's picked up 2 more pitches this year. He's got a great slider and a nice Euro pitch. So I think the fact that Mitch Keller is up to 7 pitches makes him a versatile thrower. Those are the 2 things to be excited about for Pittsburgh fans. Maybe the fact that McCutchen is coming home after, he was a great designated hitter in Milwaukee. I really loved having him on the team. I think clutch brings good morale. He is a good player, but, when you have to bring a veteran like that back, that you're not going to be, doing much to keep your fans excited this year. Finally, we have the teams that I would simply call the worst. The Kansas City Royals, the Washington Nationals, Colorado Rockies, Cincinnati Reds, and the Oakland A's. The Kansas City Royals play the most boring baseball in the league. The Washington Nationals, busted. Rockies, busted. Reds, busted. And the Oakland A's are an absolute cash-strapped teams. And I think one of these 5 are going to be moving to Las Vegas within the next 3 years. And maybe some under some new ownership or something will inspire some change. But until then, these teams are among the worst in baseball. Let's move on to our next segment. Thanks for that, Gabe. Now we're going to go over to an interview with one of my friends, Charlotte Sheehan, a Mets superfan, and she's going to tell us all about her expectations for this team and what is their keys for success. Let's check it out. Hey everybody, I'm here with Charlotte, big Mets fan. So Charlotte, the Mets are one of the teams that I think have a solid chance of winning the World Series this year. So let me ask you, what are your expectations for the New York Mets this season?
I mean, coming off last season, 101 wins, that's pretty crazy, especially for the Mets. So I don't think they're going to eclipse that or reach up to it again this year, but I think they're going to be really successful. I hope, they go further in the playoffs. I think they should. I think they kind of fell apart last year in the playoffs, pitching and just, didn't have consistency in hitting. So I think they're going to make a playoff run. Maybe call me skeptical, maybe call me a Mets fan. I don't think they're going to go too deep.
Okay.
I think conference series, hopefully, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's just divisional.
So you kind of touched on that. So what would your official prediction for how the Mets do this year? You're saying conference series?
I'll say conference.
Okay.
I'll be optimistic. I'll say conference. But pessimistically, I'll go.
I would think optimistic would be winning the World Series, but then the fact
Maybe
that there's
too much optimism.
The fact that there's the Houston Astros there, and as much as we all hate them, they're pretty damn good. So I do think, being realistic, I don't know who's going to beat them to win the World Series. Maybe the Yankees. Sorry, Mets fans. But we'll find out. So let me ask you, what is the worst possible thing that could happen to the Mets this season? Just throw all of that off.
Injuries.
Injuries?
I mean, we already have Edwin Diaz out with the World Baseball Classic. Ridiculous. Great closer. We sign him. Oh, Mets fans so happy. And then celebrations take him out. So I think injuries, especially with Scherzer's injury that sidelined him a little bit last year in key moments. And Verlander's already on the 15-day IL. So I think injuries will really set them back. And also consistency. Sometimes they struggle with hitting consistency and power. And so hopefully they kind of ramp that up this year and don't have star players fall into slumps. Yeah,
I will definitely say I think it's really interesting that the majority of your great pitchers are veterans. I think Verlander's great, but the fact that that's your replacement for DeGrom, I think, is an interesting choice. So speaking of DeGrom, I know he's many people's favorite Mets player. So just in closing, let me ask you, who is your favorite Mets player of all time?
Honestly, I got into the Mets kind of later in my life, 2016.
Okay.
So it was DeGrom for the longest time.
Very solid.
With recency bias, I think I'm going to go Polar Bear Pete.
There you go. Pete Alonso, great choice.
Derby, watching him,
He's an absolute beast.
Yeah, absolutely. He's just great. Walk-up song, the mustache he's got going this season and opening day.
Yeah.
Everything about him is great.
All right, that's all from us. We'll see you next time. Great interview, you two. Now, to wrap up, we're going to talk about Sunday Night Baseball. This is going to be a reoccurring segment each week because ESPN Sunday Night Baseball is awesome. Let's get those viewers up. This week, tonight, it's the Texas Rangers, who are 2-0, versus the Philadelphia Phillies, who are 0-2. And the Texas Rangers are going to try and sweep the Phillies. The Phillies, mind you, who made it to the World Series last year. Now listen, not having Bryce Harper is really going to affect the Phillies tonight. But here's the thing. The pitchers for this game are Bailey Falter for Philly and Martin Perez for the Rangers. They are both lefties. One thing we do know about the Philadelphia Phillies is that they are built to pit against left-handed pitchers. So that should be interesting. But here, let's look at some data from these first two games. Philadelphia at most allowed 7 runs in an inning last season. The most runs that the Rangers scored in an inning last season, also 7. On opening day of this year, the Texas Rangers had a 9-run inning against the Philadelphia Phillies. I don't know. I mean, here's the thing. The Rangers beat the Phillies 16-3 yesterday, April 1st. But I'm still going to go with the Philadelphia Phillies. I think this team has too much passion, too much ego, too much swagger to be swept by the Texas Rangers. I think DeGrom hasn't looked great as a pitcher for the Rangers. And I think the fact that they're starting a left-handed pitcher means that Philly will win. But I would be trepidatious, and I don't know if I would trust them to win. That's all from Son of a Pitch. We'll see you guys next time.